After it all stopped, he came and he stomped on my head. And that's when I think I lost consciousness.
People were reporting that guns and tasers and I don't know what got inserted into their genitals.
They kept repeating the same instructions and then they started shooting. I heard it go literally right next to me.
Some people said that they treat us as animals. I don't think they treat us as animals. You don't treat animals this way.
Broken bones, sexual assaults and torture. The testimonies of Samud Flotilla activists arrested by Israel has pulled back the curtain on the treatment of Palestinians imprisoned by the regime in Tel Aviv. Joining me are two UK-based activists, Dasa and Kareem, whose boats were intercepted by the Israeli military on the 18th and 19th of May this year. Guys, welcome. I've heard a bit from both of you about your testimonies. And we're just going to start by having a look at a video. And maybe you can just talk us through what's happening as you see it.
They instructed us to stop the boat. Obviously, we had our sails up going at full speed as well on the engine, so it wasn't really possible to do that safely. They kept repeating the same instructions and then they started shooting. The first shot was in our general direction and the second shot was towards us, so it was aimed at us. I heard it go literally right next to me.
So they're shooting with rubber bullets or?
Yes, I assume it was rubber bullets. They singled me out and they got me in zip ties. And then one of the Israeli soldiers was ripping out the Palestinian flags from the boat and the wind carried it onto my lap. So he grabbed it and like sort of twisted it into a rope and tied it around my neck and started choking me with it. And then he used it as a mask to cover like my face.
Kareem, you were on the LNG and it left Sicily on the 26th of April. Correct. You were intercepted on the 19th of May. When you were picked up, were you in international waters?
I believe we were, yes.
And Dasa, your boat was very close to Kareem's for a lot of the journey, but you were picked up the day before, intercepted the day before. Just listening to what Kareem's been saying, does that sound quite similar to your experience of being intercepted?
Yes, I just wanted to say we were never arrested, we were kidnapped, because an arrest you have to know why you are being arrested. Nobody ever informed us. We were in international waters. We have the protocol to put our life jackets on, to throw our phones, knives, anything sharp that we could be accused of using as potential weapons has to go into water. And we were the first one entering the prison ship, which obviously the treatment then changed drastically and there was suddenly the felt of a sheer brutal force, and that really felt like a change.
You're kidnapped on the 18th of May. Can you tell us, what happens after you're taken off your boat?
So we had very kind of similar procedure, except our boat was then called the torture boat because we had so many more incidents and so many more severe beatings and sexual assaults that we counted and witnessed or heard every single person going through it. So you're drugged up onto the boat and you are straight away put in a stress position. So this is our container ship, and that's, I'll go further, and here, the red head, it's me.
Oh yeah. And where are people getting beaten?
Inside here.
Inside here?
Yeah.
So it's just there?
It's just there, but then they get shot in the courtyard, and the flashbangs were all used in the courtyard. So you have all the time, like snipers on you from every corner.
Oh, so the shots are coming down?
Yes, they scream all the time something at you. They are all masked with balaclavas and many of them with sunglasses, so identification is hard. And then they brought me, they pick you up always, like twisting your arms back, putting your head down from my boat. When they arrived, one of had a black eye, the second one got punched, but it was nothing that what followed after. The second boat, they still spared the women, or at least the women did not report anything. But from the third boat, like the carnage started, we could just hear like screams and people didn't know that they were using tasers. People were coming out, wow, I did not expect electricity.
And are you witnessing instances of torture? And
well, obviously they are
happening. It's happening elsewhere, and then you're seeing the people after it happens.
I know, but you hear it all. Like you hear bam, bam, ow, ow. You heard screams. I won't imitate them. People being tasered. It's extremely painful. They scream. Then you hear them being smashed against the container. but you hear it all because it's happening in solitary container at the entrance, and then they're coming out and you see all the wounds, and all the men they took their trousers off, they had on their ankles, they had all pants on, but you don't know what was happening like in the dark container with them. One of the guy, he fell out and they came in front of us and stepped on his head like with their boots from top, like he was on his back, and they just, some people said that they treat us as animals. I don't think they treat us as animals. You don't treat animals this way. You don't. You have more empathy with any kind of animal.
And Kareem, when I was doing some research on your journey, you know, I found that you'd been intercepted and, as Dasa says, kidnapped on the 19th. And then there's a picture of you in Istanbul on the 24th of May. And there's a 5-day gap, you know, between those times. So do you want to just start us off by, you know, telling us what happened after you know, you're taken in by the Israelis?
I do believe that they were sort of targeting people of color for the assumption that they might not have as strong passports. They took us onto the prison ship. At the end, there was a soldier, grabbed me, slammed me against the container about 3 or 4 times, and then started to search me. So what that entailed is he kicked my legs apart, sort of very similar to some videos of the American police. They stripped me down. The person searching me used a metal detector to sort of like run it between my legs, and he was striking me between the legs with the metal detector about 2 or 3 times. He grabbed my shoulder, twisted it behind my back, and he was trying to sort of overextend my shoulder to dislocate it or something, but I was tensing up, and in order to loosen my shoulder, he like hit me in the back of the head. But I didn't loosen up, and then eventually he gave up and went for my thumb and just started like twisting my thumb. And then one of them just says, "Shut the F up," and punches me across the face. And then they asked me, "Are you the captain?" I said, "No, I'm a medic."
And so this is the first day or so on the boat.
I saw someone with broken bones, someone who had a cut on their head as well from being hit, someone who'd been shot with a rubber bullet, a friend of mine as well, who had pellets in his nose.
What sort of injuries were you seeing coming into your part of the boat? What are some of the more egregious examples of injuries?
Definitely broken ribs. Yeah. So everybody, we were trying, like the medics were trying to fix their ribs in position. Cuts on their face, bruises everywhere. Then taser marks. One guy with 10 taser burn marks. It does like a burn, so you can count it. On his back, it was covered. Massive black eyes, bleeding from ears, smashing heads. All the sexual assaults we don't see, obviously, but people were reporting that guns and tasers and I don't know what got inserted into their genitals that you obviously don't see, and not everybody is comfortable to share it, obviously. You need time to process this.
I think in your report you say that among these people at least 15 were sexually assaulted, and we've heard testimonies from some of the Australian participants.
So they wrenched my trousers and my underwear down, and it felt like that it was inserted with a hand. It wasn't a gun. I found out later that other people had guns inserted inside them. You know, I don't think that it was a penis, but there was so much going on. But I was vaginally raped by one of the male soldiers.
I think with sexual violence, often it happens that you don't talk about it straight away because it's quite hard to find the right words. Sometimes you're confused, like did really this happen, that happened. You're just trying to kind of piece it together because it really affects your dignity, you know, it's a very different harm to process. So what I heard is what you heard, like, 5 men inserting guns, tasers, hands, grabbing, asking people to undress, all of this. Men, that was generally where everybody was abused by men, in that single container. So this is all what I heard, like the same that people hear now in news, which is something that, it's hard to process.
Of course, now even the New York Times has reported on the widespread sexual abuse by Israeli forces on Palestinians. The UN has blacklisted Israel as a country that commits sort of widespread sexual abuse. And so you get on the boat and you're beaten, and then for the rest of the time you're on that boat, are you thinking there's another beating coming at some point?
It wasn't until we reached the port, that's when it continued. So I went there, and straight away he grabbed me by the hair and put you in that position again, and zip tied my hands behind my back, and they walk you very close to the ground. You've got your like knees bent, and all you can see is, like you said, boots, right? And when they took me to a tent, a small tent, and that's when the real beating started. So there was like, at first I didn't know where it was coming from. I was had my hands tied behind my back, and I was standing up, and it was like from everywhere, you know, like punches, kicks, you know, on my legs. And there was one specific soldier who, again, young, and like sort of similar age to me, who was very, very happy about what he was doing, right? So I think he was trying out all his moves, you know, like all the martial arts moves that they taught him. So I went down, and as I did, he pushed me as I was going down. So when I fell on the floor, I had my legs spread, right? And he kicked me between the legs as I was on the floor. And then he was using his boot to insert it into my backside as I was laying on the floor. Obviously, I had clothes on. And meanwhile, the others at that point were kicking me, like stomping on my back, stomping on my arms, on my side, on my legs as well. And then that same soldier, after it all stopped, he came and he stomped on my head. And that's when, like, sort of, I think I lost consciousness for a few seconds. Throughout the whole time, the Israeli national anthem was playing. And I also saw, I was on the floor at that point, but I saw Ben Gavir walking, like, through the people on their knees, and they're like in that stress position.
So when they're beating you in the port, are they trying to get information out of you, or
No.
is it literally just to
Just
punish
beating.
you
They
for
weren't
this
talking
act
to me.
of, trying to break the siege in Gaza?
Yeah, it was punishment, shock, terror, really terrorizing. You know, it was straight up just, I think, living out their fantasies.
And Ben Gvir, who is effectively Israeli Home Minister, he's in charge of the police, in charge of the border force. He's around at this point.
Yeah, later I saw the video, and I saw my leg in the video. That's all I saw of myself. But I saw everyone in the video, and obviously there were people who were quite hurt, older people, who'd been beaten. There was an older lady who they were dragging, and she was crying, right, very loudly. And that does something.
It's just such a cruelty that is obviously designed to scare us, to never do it again, to criminalize the solidarity movement. But it's just like, you just don't understand, like, what is going on in their heads? Like, don't they have any lives, any feeling, nothing? It's just like, and then you realize, like, Palestinians will go through daily. That's kind of probably the heartbeat to start to imagine what's happening to other people, and that there is no escape for us. We knew that this is gonna end at some point. At some point, it's going to end.
Kareem, you have a UK passport. Dasa,
European.
You're a UK resident, and on the UK government side of things, the Foreign Office put out a statement saying, we've called the top Israeli diplomat in the UK. We're in touch with the families, and we can offer them consular support if they need. I mean, what was your experience of the British government response?
For me, it was honestly, it was a bit absurd, right? Because first of all, we didn't get any support, right? As soon as I landed, I'm going to take it sort of in chronological order of me finding out about everything. When I landed, I saw the consular representatives, and they had a list, and they were just ticking people's name off when they saw them, right? When I said I had a testimony, he said, "Oh, we've got quite a lot of people to get through," and sort of tried to just move on. But I didn't really let them. And as I sort of forced them to sit down, right, and give them my testimony, she was like, literally, she had a notebook, skimming through everything. It's like, all right, that's it. Okay. And then she's like trying to obviously not get a proper testimony. They didn't give us any phones. They didn't give us any money. They were telling my family that they don't have any news of me when I was on live TV. So I was on live TV coming off the plane, and my family was on the phone with him, and they're saying, right, where is he? And he's like, oh, well, he hasn't landed yet. I was on live TV. Whenever we called them and I tried to sort of talk to them about me being kidnapped and me being on the flotilla, it would always come up with call failed, always. As soon as I started mentioning the flotilla, the call would fail, right? And I have video of that. I tried to get a medical report done. I went to A&E, and all he did was genuinely just have a very 5-minute look max, and he wouldn't give me the report after. He said the police would have to take it off them, and the police said it's not their job, that I need to go through the Commonwealth and Foreign Office.
No, Yvette Cooper or anybody was not in touch with families, not that I'm aware of any members, because there was a family chat group with all the UK participants, and nobody got reached out.
And the reaction to this round of arrests, kidnaps of the flotilla from European governments was interesting this time, because there was a bit of indignation. They called in some Israeli ambassadors across Europe. The press reacted in a very different way, in that they covered it a lot more extensively. But, where was this indignation through 2-3 years of genocide?
Coming back and seeing all the media coverage, for me, since being back, I felt nothing but rage. The European governments, right, aren't able, and I'm sorry, the media, right, aren't able to imagine, right, the suffering of Palestinians unless it's put into terms of people that look like them. They have to imagine their mothers or their grandmothers, right, being raped, being killed, right, the screams that they would have to go through, right, in order to imagine the Palestinian pain. The reason why this flotilla was so important is to make the world understand that, first of all, we are not our governments. We have rage for the occupation. We do not accept the genocide as people. And if our governments don't do anything about it, we will. And we will make them do what they're supposed to do, because they're supposed to represent our will.
I hope we can take it up with a lawyer and open a case. Like, yes, that's my ambition and that's my hope, that we bring the light on plight of Palestinian prisoners in spaces. It's not for us, we're doing it to keep talking about it, obviously. And also, like, it's not acceptable that the country can perpetrate sexual violence and torture and all this without any consequences. So it is important to take it to court. It is important to keep talking about it, because like this, we shed light on the treatment of Palestinians. So we're using our privileges to talk about the important things. I don't want to be complicit. And that was maybe my biggest motivation, that we cannot stay silent. We cannot, and as we often say in the flotilla, for us, it was more dangerous to stay silent than to go on the flotilla and face the IOF.
Dasa, that's a really important point to end on, and I thank you both for coming here, sharing your testimonies. Harrowing, but very important for the world and our viewers. Thanks for watching. If you found this video important, if you found it informative, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to donate to Declassified, go to declassifieduk.org/join and find out how to become a member. Thanks for watching.